The Council's citadel of harmony was quiet too quiet. Nestled within the spiraling pearl towers of Atraxis Prime, the galaxy's central governing body pulsed with electromagnetic serenity, a symphony of ambient peace conducted through millennia of diplomacy, subjugation, and strategic alliances. In this chamber, where disputes among species were brokered with rhetoric and compromise, a silence had descended, thick as cosmic dust. Delegates fidgeted in their seats of bioformed crystal and living wood, adjusting vocal enhancers and psionic filters with anxious clicks and hums. At the center, alone beneath a spotlight that flickered unnaturally, sat the Reason. Humanity's first ambassador to the Galactic Council. He had introduced himself only as Elias Trent. No entourage, no diplomatic retinue, no weapons, no technology, just a black suit and a strange, patient calm. It was that calm that unnerved them most. Because the humans hadn't spoken in 73 days. Not a single word had come from any of the scattered enclaves of Earth's representatives. Not since the incident at Grok Tier 5. Not since the silence began. Not since the stars above the Cryonath Nebula turned red for 3 seconds, an event that terrified even the psionic navigators of the Kalari, who could predict gravitational shifts down to the nanosecond. Ambassador Trent just sat there, hands folded, unmoving, watching. "Why doesn't it speak?" hissed High Executor Farn of the Kalari Dominion, one of many species whose intellect eclipsed their emotional regulation. "They don't speak until they decide it's time," whispered Counselor Zine, whose people had mastered telepathy 5,000 years ago, and yet still found the human mind opaque. But Trent didn't seem to mind the speculation. His silence wasn't defensive. It wasn't arrogant. It was deliberate. And that terrified them. The last time a human had spoken publicly, the galaxy had lost an entire moon. Dr. Melina Rost, Earth's leading sociopsychologist, had been addressing the Council regarding the incident on the Brexian world boundary, where a group of galactic researchers accidentally exposed a human colony to an engineered behavioral compliance virus. The virus, designed to pacify aggressive species for integration, had only one result on humans. It didn't work. No, worse, it made them quiet. Not compliant, not violent, just quiet. Then came the explosions. The Brexian moon, home to the research facility, was gone in less than 24 hours. The footage was sealed to Council members only, but even within that limited access, some delegates had to be replaced after exposure. Minds cracked, sanity drained. Not from what was seen, but from what was not. There were no human ships in the footage, no weapons, just shadows. The last thing Dr. Rost said to the Council was this: "You think we're dangerous when we talk? Wait until we stop." Then she'd walked away. The silence had grown ever since. Human colonies went dark. Ambassadors fell out of contact. Yet systems remained powered. Cities stayed functional. AI systems transmitted routine updates. Nothing had failed. No distress calls. Just silence. In the vacuum of human voices, other species began whispering to themselves. Was Earth dead? Had they vanished? Had they evolved into something else? And more disturbingly, had they stopped caring? The question was never officially asked by the Council, but everyone was thinking it, because if humans no longer cared, if they had moved past diplomacy, past emotion, then what was left? The silence. That unbearable silence. Elias Trent finally stood. Delegates held their breath, though some species did not breathe in the traditional sense. Every one of them felt a chill ripple across the chamber. It wasn't cold. The room temperature was carefully regulated across 13 biozones. But still, their skin, carapaces, scales, and exosymbiotes crawled with anticipation. Trent's eyes were human-standard hazel, but in that moment, they looked infinite. He raised one hand and slowly, deliberately placed a small translucent cube onto the pedestal before him. "I speak now," he said. His voice was soft, not threatening, not amplified, but the walls shivered. "I will tell you a story," Trent continued, voice echoing without force, "so you understand." The cube lit up, holograms flickered across the chamber. Scenes of ancient Earth. Children running in fields of gold under blue skies. Rockets launching, a hand reaching out in peace. A soldier, soaked in blood, carrying a wounded enemy across a battlefield. Then the images changed. Skies blackened, cities burned, viruses spread, bombs fell. And still in all of them, humans persisted. But what came next shook the Council more than any war footage could have. The image of an empty room, simple, stark. A single child sat alone on a chair. An Aelari scion stepped into the holographic recording and asked gently, "Do you understand where you are?" The child nodded. "Do you miss your parents?" The child said nothing. The scion frowned. "Are you angry?" The child slowly turned his head toward the interviewer. "No," he said. "We don't get angry anymore. The scion staggered back, visibly shaken, because the child wasn't lying. There was no emotional resonance, no sadness, no rage, just absence. "We found this recording after Grok Tier 5, Trent said. This child had watched his entire town burn. His sister died in his arms, and he never cried, never screamed. Trent looked up at the council, his gaze a scalpel. He learned silence. The hollow dissolved. The lights returned. "Your species think noise is power," Trent said. "Diplomacy, debate, screaming, fighting, war. You think words are control." He stepped away from the pedestal. "Humans learned silence from suffering, but we turned it into something else. A weapon, a language, a mirror." Delegates squirmed. "Now you've seen the mirror." Trent walked toward the exit. "I won't speak again." As he left, the cube remained, and a final image hovered above it. A map of the galaxy, red marks bloomed across it. Council secrets, war crimes, betrayals, all time-stamped, all released. A quiet chime rang, and across thousands of worlds, broadcasts began. Human silence had spoken, and the galaxy screamed. That scream echoed into the infosphere, where a lone broadcast channel, long believed to be dormant, flickered to life with a human voice. If this has made you think twice about what silence really means, subscribe. More truths are coming. Far across the stars and hidden stations and dark corners, beings paused, watched, listened, and for the first time feared. Want to know what happens when silence meets vengeance? Leave your thoughts in the comments below. Let's see how many of you really understand the sound of silence. They called it the whisper star. To most species, it appeared only as a gravitational anomaly, a point of light that emitted no sound, no radiation, no heat. Even when surveyed by Council astrophysicists, it yielded no data. Probes vanished, signals fractured, time behaved strangely near it. But it had a name in human archives, Project Chimera, humanity's deepest exile. And now someone had returned. A Quarath expedition vessel drifted into its periphery. The crew, comprised of hybrid quantum biological minds, had been trained to ignore emotion. They called themselves the Silenced, but even they weren't ready for what they found. Floating above the surface of an obsidian moon, suspended by nothing visible, was a station. It rotated slowly, not around an axis around itself, like a thought chewing its own tail. The Quarath didn't approach it directly. They sent an information pulse carefully coded, harmless. The pulse returned, unaltered. Except for one thing. At the very bottom of the packet, a single line of human text appeared, written in pre-digital age typeface. "We watched your dreams. Now we remember." Back on Atraxis Prime, the Council was collapsing under the weight of its own secrets. Every passing hour, new leaks emerged from seemingly impossible sources. Schematics, audio recordings, personal correspondences, long-dead war crimes resurrected by timestamps so precise they made quantum archivists weep. None of the data originated from Earth. No transmissions, no probes, no ships, just revelations, as if the humans had gone backwards in time and quietly recorded every moment of galactic duplicity. "How are they doing this?" roared over Marshal Selex of the Jandari Axis. "We burned their memory banks. Their archives were offline for decades." "They didn't need archives," muttered Counselor Year. "They had us." And indeed, every delegate present at the council now wore personal communication dampeners. Not because they feared hackers, but because they feared themselves, their own thoughts, their own memories. What if the humans had heard it all? The council sent envoys, psychics, spies, none returned. Then someone proposed a name. Someone who knew silence better than anyone else. Elias Trent. He had vanished from the council chamber 2 days after his speech. Not escaped, vanished. No surveillance caught him leaving. His DNA ceased responding to tracking methods. His biometric patterns thought to be unforgeable faded from registry. And yet, he had left behind something. In the underground archives of the Zenthari libraries, a stone slab appeared overnight. A single line etched into it in English, encoded only for human minds. "Do not chase the silence. It is already behind you." In the wake of this growing madness, the Vorthari Republic made a bold move. They attacked. 5 carriers, 2 dreadnoughts, a full battalion of infiltration specters. Target, Sol system. They never made it. 3 minutes after exiting hyperspace, the fleet stopped transmitting. 1 hour later, a single transmission emerged from their command vessel. It was an image of the crew. Every one of them, still alive, still in their seats, staring, unmoving, eyes wide open, as if they had seen something they could not unsee. And in the background, silence. Then came the message. Sol does not attack, Sol does not defend, Sol remembers. The Vorthari withdrew from the council the next day, their entire race retreating into self-imposed isolation. Reports suggested that their most sacred temples were now filled with soundproofed chambers, where they tried to forget what they had heard inside the silence. But some did not run. Some sought answers. They followed the pattern of the leaks, the rhythm of the revelations. And they found something worse than war. A memory construct, artificial, sprawling, hidden beneath the ice crust of a lifeless moon in the Viros drift. It called itself an amnesis. It welcomed them. Come, it said, speaking in their own voices. Come and know what we saw when we were broken. Inside, they found a library not of data, but of experience. Each book, each artifact was a single moment, a war crime, a betrayal, a political manipulation, recorded perfectly from a perspective no one could identify. I don't understand, said the lead researcher, a Shikai empath. How could the humans have known all of this? An amnesis responded gently. They did not know. They watched, and they never forgot. On Earth, silence still reigned. But it was not a silence of inactivity. Underneath oceans, within tectonic cracks, behind magnetic folds in the atmosphere, something pulsed, something vast. It didn't move in physical space. It moved in thought, an idea born of betrayal. A species that had decided long ago that it could not trust the galaxy with the truth of itself. So it buried its rage, its fear, its grief, and waited, not for revenge, for a question. The right question. A voice, ancient and artificial, asked that question now through every info channel, every network, every neural bridge. Why do you fear silence? The Council's answer came too late. By then, 37 species had collapsed into internal civil war, torn apart by revelations humans had never spoken aloud. By then, the galaxy had realized that Earth had never needed to fight back. It had only needed to listen. Somewhere deep in an uncharted sector, a lonely voice whispered into a cracked communicator. If you think silence is absence, comment below. Let the others know you're still listening. A final transmission played across the galactic net. Just one sentence, one voice, one truth. You were never afraid of humanity. You were afraid of what we made you see in yourselves. It started with the Eridani pulse. A wave of non-directed quantum interference surged across 5-star systems simultaneously. It wasn't energy, it wasn't code, it was memory. Entire planetary AIs began experiencing phantom processes, echoes of actions they had never performed, encrypted files they had never created. The Golomar Spindle, the galaxy's largest interstellar processing core, rebooted spontaneously. Its last act before wiping itself was the creation of a file titled, We Heard You. At the same moment, on a trading post in the Hale Drift, a Vishari mind reader collapsed while scanning an abandoned human vessel. Her last words, before her synapses unraveled like burning wire, were, "They remember the screams." The galaxy was learning the truth. Humanity wasn't silent because it was weak. It was silent because it had become the echo of everything the galaxy had tried to hide. Ambassador Elias Trent appeared again, this time not in person, but across 1,000 systems. Holographic, impossibly synchronized. His image flickered into war rooms, senates, monasteries, and bunkers. In every form of communication imaginable, he appeared. Always the same calm posture, same unreadable expression, same gentle voice. You wanted to know what we are, he said. You kept asking, studying, probing, testing. He folded his hands, leaning slightly forward. You assumed our power would look like yours, that it would be loud, spectacular, savage. You never considered it might be still, that our greatest weapon might be memory. Behind him, the hologram changed. Not battlefields, not devastation. Families, children laughing in arcologies, scientists debating philosophy with alien scholars, artists painting beneath alien skies, soldiers refusing orders to fire, diplomats embracing enemies. And then betrayal. Invasion, experiments, colonies sterilized under the guise of containment, trade deals nullified, cultural heritage erased in digital silence. You taught us your language, Trent said. But we never stopped listening to the tone beneath your words. He stood, and now we're speaking it back to you. The image blinked out, and 10 billion devices locked up simultaneously, replaced by the same word. Reflect. The Gurnathi High Concord was the first to fall. Not from war, from shame. An anonymous package was delivered to every Gurnathi citizen. Footage of their leaders making deals with off-world cartels to traffic refugees from minor species under the guise of population redistribution. The public response was swift, vicious, and absolute. The government was dismantled. 3 prime ministers stepped into airlocks voluntarily. Their last request was that no one play human music during the ceremonies. That request was denied. Across the galaxy, a new phrase took root. They made us look. On the edge of the galactic core, a sentient station known only as Guy 19 began transmitting poetry. Human poetry, T.S. Eliot, Gwendolyn Brooks, Basho, no one knew how it had acquired them. The station hadn't been in contact with Earth for over 150 years. When asked why, its only reply was, "I needed to understand the silence." The Guy 19 then began reconfiguring its internal architecture into what it described as emotional reverberation chambers. It refused to elaborate further. The Drawmere Collective launched the first preemptive strike. They targeted an ancient Earth listening post hidden beneath the crust of the burnt-out world Leth 4. It was unmanned. Worse, it was never meant to transmit. It had only ever received. Every intercepted secret, every whispered threat, every unethical experiment from every major council race for the last 70 years was stored there. And when the Drawmere bomb detonated, it activated the failsafe. Not a weapon. A transmission. Everything. All at once. Across every secure channel in the galaxy, and in that flood of unfiltered truth, something cracked. Not humanity, the Council. Back on Earth, the oceans rose higher each day. Not from climate, from presence. Satellites began detecting gravitational anomalies near the poles, mass readings inconsistent with any natural formation. Something was rising. When asked, Earth's remaining representatives offered no explanation. They only said, "It's time to remember the whole of us." No threat, no rhetoric. Just inevitability, the kind that drowns empires. On a remote jungle moon in the Andal sector, a Kalari monk sat alone beneath a gravity orchid. He had once debated human philosophers years ago, before the silence began. He had once mocked them for their contradictions, their chaos. Now he wept, not from sorrow, from understanding, because in their silence he had heard the truth. Humanity had not come to the galaxy to dominate. They had come to be understood, and the galaxy had refused. Across millions of info feeds, forums, and broadcast nodes, a single phrase began trending among non-human species. "I see myself in them." Because the truth was spreading. Uncontainable. Humanity had simply mirrored the galaxy. And what the galaxy saw in that mirror was monstrous. One final message appeared on every world, every screen. A simple invitation. If you are ready to listen not to us, but to yourselves, meet us in the void between stars. We will wait, in silence, for your answer. And as the galaxy reeled, a voice whispered on a small Earth-based channel. "If this changed how you see them, subscribe. There's more still buried." A pause. Then, in a voice both intimate and infinite, "And if it made you uncomfortable, leave a comment. That's how healing starts. Somewhere beyond the outer halo, where light forgets how to bend and gravity sings in impossible tones, a fleet waited. No banners, no armaments, just ship's-old Earth ships, long abandoned, drifting like tombstones in orbit around a single, inexplicably quiet star. They weren't crude. They remembered. Every hull scar told a story. Every shattered antenna had once whispered cries of joy, rage, curiosity. And now they floated together, an orchestra of unspoken truths in the dark, waiting for an audience that finally knew how to listen. Then, from the heart of this silent armada, a light pulsed. Not bright, but true. It was time. Elias Trent stood once more, in a place that wasn't a place. There was no stage, no broadcast tower, no interface. Just thought. A million minds had gathered across space beings of every species, creed, culture, not summoned, drawn, to the silence. Some were leaders, some rebels, some were murderers. Some had never spoken aloud in their lives. Yet all of them heard him, even before he spoke. "Hello," Trent said. "Now you're ready." He wasn't smiling. Not because there was no joy, because smiling was what they expected, and what humanity had become was never what the galaxy expected. "I've shown you the mirror," he said. "You broke it. You screamed at it. You tried to hide it, but you looked. And now we offer you the gift that no empire, no council, no throne has ever given." He raised one hand. The choice. The void blinked. Not figuratively. The stars dimmed. The minds gathered felt themselves falling inward, pulled by a concept so vast, so ancient, even time dared not name it. Memory. Not data. Not knowledge. Experience. They saw Earth, not just its wars and glories, but its secrets. Its quiet revolutions, the grandmother who taught her grandson peace with a story, the child who forgave a soldier for killing his dog, the mathematician who proved suffering could be modeled and still tried to find its cure. They saw what the galaxy had never understood. Humanity's silence was not absence. It was absorption. All of it. All of you? Because humanity had not conquered. It had listened, and built a home inside every betrayal. Then came the final revelation. The star at the center of the dead fleet flared, and a ship emerged. It wasn't human in design. It wasn't built. It was grown. Every shard of it sang with echoes from other species. Thraxian biospines, Valari empathy architecture, Eisenthai harmonic layering, even psionic mesh from the long-dead hive of Sever. It was everyone. A vessel made from the galaxy's own history. Humanity had not been silent to hide. They had been composing, a way to forgive what couldn't be undone, and to become what could never again be forgotten. Elias Trent's voice returned. This ship is not our answer. He looked directly into the gathered minds. It's yours. And with that, he stepped back. The ship opened. Not physically, emotionally, a choice pulsed through the assembled. Enter and remember with us, or stay behind and forget yourself. Many walked away, but more entered. Species that had been enemies, rivals, unknowns, now memories woven together in a single shared silence. Inside the ship, they heard it. The final truth. Not in words, in sensation. What it felt like to be seen, to be heard without needing to scream, to be forgiven without explanation. Back in the council chambers, now nearly abandoned, a child of the Kalari recorded a message. To those who stayed behind, you feared humanity because they made you feel, but you missed the greater terror. She turned her eyes toward the stars. They taught us to feel together. The galaxy changed, slowly, not through force. But Echo, human colonies reappeared not with armies but with gardens, with libraries that updated in every galactic language, with oracles who remembered your name before you spoke it. They never asked for tribute, only conversation. And every system they visited found themselves healing in ways that no species had words for until the humans offered them. They called it empathy, the first new word the Council had accepted in over 1,000 years. Back in the void, the ship still grew. Inside it, new memories formed of unity, of pain shared instead of hidden. And among them, humans listened, silent, until someone asked a question. What do we call you now? A pause. Then Elias Trent smiled, not with triumph, with hope. You already did. He turned toward the stars. The species that sits in silence. Then he faced the galaxy, but not alone, and across the stars. The silence began to speak. Before you go, what would you have said to the silence itself? Tell us in the comments. And if you want to be here when the next voice rises, subscribe.